My name is Bob Weinberg. I was diagnosed in 1998 at age 48 with MDS RARS. RARS means refractory anemia with ringed sideroblasts. Here are my numbers. I have received over 850 units of packed red blood cells. My white blood cells hover around 2.0. My absolute neutrophil count, ANC, is between 500 and 700, and my platelets between 30,000 and 40,000. My blast count is under 5%. My current transfusion frequency is 7 to 8 days. I take 2,500 milligrams of XJ daily. My ferritin level checked monthly ranges from 450 to 700. I have an MRI taken every year on my heart and liver, looking for embedded iron in those organs. My MDS story began in the water. During my 30s and 40s, I was an avid swimmer. Every morning before going to work at a large, high-pressure law firm in Philadelphia, I would sleepwalk my way to the local Y to swim my daily mile, 36 laps. I was only one of a group of groggy people who began their day with a swim. Side by side, we would glide through the water, and being competitive by nature, we each knew which swimmers would pass us and which swimmers we would pass. Until the winter and spring of 1997 and 98. That is when I found the morning swim's natural order of things out of whack. Those I usually passed started passing me. Those who would pass me once every 4 laps would pass me twice as often. So to build up my stamina, I thought that I should jog as well. After running less than a city block, I had to stop, almost keeling over with a sharp pain in my chest, severe breathlessness, aching calves, and a pounding heart and dizziness. Something was wrong. So I gave up jogging after one try and went back to the pool. Over a couple of months, my stamina and strength declined to where every one of my fellow swimmers passed me. I could not even swim 6 laps. I started to need a nap in the afternoon at 48 years old. It was time to see the doctor and have my first ever physical. That was on a Friday. And by Tuesday morning, I learned the words myelodysplasia and sideroblastic anemia. I went right to Google. The first thing that came up was an article on Carl Sagan. I knew I was in for a game changer. My siblings were tested for a bone marrow match and both failed. My internist called to ask me if my affairs were in order. That is when the hematologist at the local hospital told me that he had patients like me with low hemoglobin, but manageable platelets and white cells, who lived on transfusions for 15 years. So I then visited a specialist in an MDS at a major university medical center for a second opinion. He said that I should not expect to live more than 5 years. I told him that I had a better offer from the hematologist at my local community hospital, and he said he could not match that. So of course I took the higher offer, and my community hospital is where I have been treated for the last 14.5 years. Not that I didn't visit the best of best in experts over the next 10 years. Stanford University, Memorial Sloan Kettering, Moffitt Cancer Center, University of Rochester, Mount Sinai. I remember my first visit with an international expert. I asked him what causes MDS, and he quickly replied, bad luck. I took Revlimid on a clinical trial, but all it did was lower my blood counts, cause boils, and make my hair itch. I took Vidaza, and it worked for 5 months. But within less than a year of starting it, I was back on a 14-day transfusion frequency. So the family flew to Seattle in early 2006. We visited the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center, which I was told was the place for a MUD, matched unrelated donor, transplant. The doctor sat my wife, my 23-year-old daughter, and me down at a small round table in a small windowless conference room and told us that I had only 6 months to live. unless I submitted myself to a mismatched, unrelated donor bone marrow transplant. Chances of surviving 5 years were 65%. So I gave notice at work, and my wife and I leased an apartment in Seattle. But first I took a 10-day motorcycle trip in Europe, where I conveniently broke my ankle when my Ducati spilled on gravel and landed on my foot. That set back the transplant schedule. Bones won't heal when your immune system is suppressed as it is in a BMT. By the time my ankle had healed, however, I decided against the unrelated mismatched procedure. That was 6.5 years ago. I recently had the donor search rerun, and I learned that with the donors available and the billions of antibodies I have garnered from so many past transfusions, I should consider a BMT only if it is my very last option. So I am sticking with the transfusions. By year 2009, transfusion frequency was down to 10 days, and I was faltering in meeting the pressures at work, what with the interruptions for blood tests, feeling lousy, and transfusions. So I cut my workload by 80%, became further involved in the MDS Foundation, and spent much more time walking my dog. Meanwhile, antibodies seemed to be destroying the transfused blood more quickly and preventing me from getting quite the same energy lift I used to get from a transfusion. But time marches on, and I have no sense that anything is coming to a close. Recognizing that MDS comes in many shapes and sizes, I have lived by the following points. 1, don't worry about something that may happen in the future. I can worry about it when it happens. 2, do everything I can to be informed so I can make intelligent choices. 3, don't get caught up thinking that I am in a battle in which I have some control over whether I win or lose. We are in the realm of those things over which we don't have control. And 4, if things don't work out, it is not because I did not fight enough, or I did not have faith enough, or others weren't praying for me enough. Thank you.